Before Texas was carved into the land we know today, before cities rose and railroads stretched across the plains, there were warriors, not just fighters, but masters of the land, swift as the wind, deadly as the storm. The Apache and the Comanche were more than tribes. They were legends, shaping history with every battle fought, every mile claimed. Their war cries echoed across the canyons. Their horse hooves thundered across the prairies. They did not ask for war, but they never ran from it. What made them so feared? What made them nearly unstoppable? And how did the tide of history turn against them? This is not just a tale of conquest and survival. It is a story of power, resilience, and the warrior spirit that still lingers in the heart of Texas. Today, the wind howls across the vast Texas plains, carrying whispers of a time when the land belonged to warriors. Before settlers, before fences, before borders, two mighty tribes ruled this unforgiving terrain, the Apache and the Comanche. Their names alone struck fear into the hearts of enemies, for they were more than just warriors. They were masters of survival, of battle, of a way of life that defied the ages. The Apache shadow, like in the mountains and deserts, were ghosts of the land moving unseen. Striking with ruthless precision, the Comanche lords of the horse were untamed thunder, sweeping down from the plains with terrifying speed. For centuries they shaped the history of Texas, not as mere footnotes in the march of time, but as the architects of war and resistance. This is their story, a saga of blood, honor, and the fight for a land that once was theirs. The first light of dawn painted the desert in hues of red and gold, as the Apache moved like shadows across the land. They had come from the distant north centuries before. Following the whispers of the wind and the call of survival, their journey had been long. Through mountains that touched the sky, through canyons where echoes told stories of old spirit. They were not one people but many. The Chiricahua, fierce and untamed, claimed the rugged mountains as their fortress. The Mescalero, swift and cunning, thrived in the vast plains and deserts. The Lepin warriors of the south stood guard over the land now known as Texas. Though divided by names, they were bound by blood, by war, by an unbreakable spirit. They learned to fight as the land fought, to be relentless, to disappear into the wilderness, to strike and fade like ghosts. The Apache were not just survivors, they were the keepers of an ancient way, a people no force could truly conquer. The wind carried the scent of wild grass and distant storms as a band of warriors rode across the open prairie, their horses moving like spirits beneath them. They had come far further than any tribe before them. Once they were Shoshone mountain people, who hunted in the shadows of great peaks. But here on the vast untamed plains, they had become something else, something greater. The horse had changed everything with it. They no longer walked, they flew, no longer hunters on foot. They became masters of the chase, striking buffalo with unerring precision, their arrows singing death through the wind. They learned to fight like the storm swift, furious, unstoppable. No one could outrun them, no army could match them. The Comanche did not just survive the southern plains, they ruled it from the Red River to the Rio Grande. Their dominance was unquestioned. They were not just warriors, they were legends in the making. The Apache struck like ghosts under the cover of night. They moved silently through rocky canyons, in dense forests, their footfalls lighter than the whispering wind. They needed no great numbers, only patience, precision, and the land itself. They knew every ravine, every cave, every hidden path, using the earth as both weapon and shield. An ambush could come from anywhere. One moment the enemy marched forward, the next arrows rained from the cliffs, warriors vanishing before a counterattack could begin. The Comanche, by contrast, were the storm on horseback. They became one with their steed, striking with terrifying speed and force. Their attacks were swift, overwhelming, like a rolling thunder that never ceased. Armed with lances, bows, and later firearms, they could outmaneuver and outrun any force. No army could match them in open combat. One fought from the shadows, the other ruled the open plains. Together they were the nightmare of empires. The morning sun cast long shadows as an Apache hunter knelt beside a fresh set of tracks. His fingers brushed the earth, reading the story written in dust. The hunt was more than survival. It was tradition, a sacred bond between man and nature. Nearby women tended fires, weaving intricate baskets while children laughed, their voices echoing against the canyon walls. Elders sat in a circle, whispering stories of the ancestors, their wisdom shaping the next generation. Far across the plains, the Comanche village stirred with life. Warriors tested their horses, their skill in the saddle unmatched by any. A council of chiefs gathered, their decisions shaping the tribe's future. At night the firelight flickered across painted faces, as stories of battle and bravery were sung to the stars. For both Apache and Comanche, life was more than survival. It was honor, balance, and an unbreakable connection to the land and spirits that watched over them. The sky burned red as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows over the Texas plains. Smoke curled in the distance. Another settlement, another battle. The Apache and Comanche had fought wars long before the Spanish came, but now the enemy was different. Foreign tongues, steel weapons, and endless waves of settlers pushed deeper into their lands, claiming what was never theirs to take. The Apache masters of ambush struck at night, slipping into enemy camps like spirits. A gunshot, a scream, then silence by dawn. Nothing remained but empty wagons and footprints fading into the desert. The Comanche, fierce and relentless, rode in full daylight, their warriors circling like wolves, their arrows blotting out the sun. Soldiers, ranchers and settlers alike learned to fear their name. The battle was never just for land, it was for survival, and neither the Apache nor the Comanche would surrender easily. The crack of gunfire echoed across the plains as dust swirled around charging horses. The Texas Rangers, hardened men who had fought in 100 skirmishes, reloaded their rifles with steady hands. They had been formed for one purpose: to hunt the Apache and Comanche, to drive them from the land settlers now claimed as their own. But their enemy was unlike any they had ever faced. The Apache vanished into the mountains, striking supply lines, ambushing patrols and disappearing like ghosts. Before dawn, the Comanche met battle head-on, their warriors riding with fearless precision, their arrows finding gaps in even the best defenses. The U.S. Army brought artillery, repeating rifles and cold discipline, but still the war dragged on. For decades the frontier was painted in blood. Each battle, each raid was another step toward an inevitable end. But even as their numbers fell, the Apache and Comanche refused to kneel. Their war was not just for land. It was for their very existence. The prairie, once alive with the thunder of hooves, had grown silent. The great war bands of the Apache and Comanche were no more scattered, broken, forced into a world not their own. Disease had come first, sweeping through camps like an unseen enemy, taking warriors, elders, and children alike. Then came war, relentless, merciless. The U.S. Army, armed with repeating rifles and endless reinforcements, crushed what resistance remained. Some Apache warriors still fought, retreating into the mountains, refusing to surrender, but hunger was a weapon. And the land that had once sustained them now worked against them. The Comanche, once lords of the plains, saw their mighty herds slaughtered, their people herded onto reservations. Land that was barren, lifeless, a cruel shadow of what they had once ruled. The fires of freedom dimmed, but they never truly died. In quiet whispers around reservation fires, the old stories still lived. The spirit of the warrior endured. The wind still carries their names. In the heart of Texas, where once warriors rode in, battles raged, their spirit lingers, etched into the land, woven into history. The Apache and Comanche may no longer ride as they once did, but their legacy is unshaken. Their tactics, their survival instincts, their defiance against impossible odds, these live on in military strategy, in the resilience of native communities, in the pride of those who still carry their blood. Their stories are no longer whispered in the shadows of war, but spoken openly, honored in museums, universities, and cultural centers. Their language, once nearly lost, is being revived, their traditions once banned are celebrated. The land is changed, but the warrior spirit remains. It lives in the descendants who refuse to be forgotten, in the names of rivers and towns, in the very soul of Texas. The Apache and Comanche were never just part of history. They are its heartbeat. The flames of their campfires may have faded, their war cries now echoes of another time, but the spirit of the Apache and Comanche endures. They were warriors, not just of battle, but of survival, of identity, of resistance against forces meant to erase them. Though history tried to push them into the past, they refused to be forgotten. Their lessons remain: adaptability, resilience, the unbreakable bond between a people and their land. They remind us that true strength is not only in weapons but in the will to endure, to reclaim, to remember. Today their descendants walk in two worlds, one modern, one ancient. Their traditions, once nearly lost, breathe again through language, ceremonies, and stories passed from elder to child. The Apache and Comanche were never just fighters of war, they were keepers of a way of life. And as long as their spirit burns, they will never truly be gone. The story of the Apache and Comanche is more than history, it is a testament to strength, resilience, and the unyielding spirit of those who refused to be forgotten. They fought not just with weapons, but with their hearts, their traditions, and their determination to survive. Against impossible odds, their journey teaches us that identity is worth defending, that culture is worth preserving, and that no force can truly erase a people who refuse to disappear. Today their legacy is in the land, in the voices of their descendants, in the echoes of a warrior spirit that still burns. Their story is not over, it is still being written. And it is up to us to remember, to honor, and to share their truth. If this story moved you, don't let it end here. Like, comment, and share to keep their legacy alive. Subscribe for more stories that deserve to be told. The past is powerful, but only if we carry it forward.